Okay, so this video is on sections 3.3 and 3.4. And so I will begin by, let me make sure that the paper is straight. I will begin by defining slope. So the slope of a line is equal to the rise over the run. And the formula we will be using is the following: y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, where x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2 are 2 points on the line. Okay, so that's the definition of slope that we will use in this course. And so I'm going to work some problems from your workbook. I'm going to start with example 4. So example 4 is asking us to find the slope. It says we are given 2 points, 3 comma negative 1 and 5 comma 4. So these are 2 points on a line, and we want to find the slope of the line passing through these points. So I'm going to name the first point x1, y1, first point, and the second point is x2, y2. And I'm going to use the formula for slope, which we already discussed: y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that's going to equal 4 minus, remember the minus is part of the formula, so be careful when you have a negative number and you're going to be subtracting. Don't forget, and it's a common mistake to simply write 4 minus 1, but this minus, this negative here, is minus, you're subtracting. You're going to be subtracting a negative number, so minus minus 1, which we know will become positive, right, from our previous lesson. And y2, so y2, we have y2, 4 minus minus 1 divided by x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3, right? And so we have 4 minus minus, remember that's going to give us a plus, so plus 1, divided by 5 minus 3 equals 2. And so we have 4 plus 1 equals 5 divided by 2. And so we get a slope of 5 over 2, so a rise of 5 and a run of 2. Remember that this is the rise over the run. So a rise of 5 and a run of 2. This means that y is changing by 5, right? And x is changing, as x is changing by 2, y is changing by 5. Okay, so that's the slope for example 4. Okay. So that's example 4. Now let's go ahead and do example 7 on that same page. Example 7. And the 2 points that I have is negative 2 comma 5 and negative 2 comma negative 3. And negative 2 comma negative 3. Negative 2 comma 5, negative 2 comma negative 3. And so I'm going to let negative 2 be x1, y1, and then negative 2 is x2, negative 3 will be y2. If you decide to name the first point x2, y2, and the second point x1, y1, when you calculate the slope is not going to change. You still get the same answer regardless of the order. All right? So just be consistent. So slope is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that's going to equal y2 is negative 3 minus y1 is 5, right? Divided by x2 is negative 2 minus x1 is negative 2, right? So negative 3 minus 5 equals negative 8. divided by -2 minus, remember that that's gonna be a negative and a negative together will be positive. So -2 minus -2 is actually -2 plus 2, which is going to give you 0. You need to be very careful here because you cannot have 0 in the denominator. It's okay if you have 0 in the numerator, but you cannot have it in the denominator because then that's an undefined concept in mathematics. That we say this is undefined. So this is probably because, not probably, this is because we are dealing with a vertical line that has no that has an undefined slope. In other words, notice, why is it a vertical line? Because the difference between x2 and x1 is 0, meaning that it doesn't move. There's no run. The run is 0. So that means that we have a vertical line here, right? So as we plot more and more points, we will see that we can generate a vertical line. But so what we are going to determine here is that this is undefined. So we're going to write undefined. So what is the answer for the slope? We say it's undefined whenever we have a denominator of 0. Okay. Okay. Let us consider another example here. Let me take a look here. I want to find the slope. Let's see, graph each equation and then identify the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. I want to do one from page. Let me go ahead and work number 9. Let's work number 9. Number 9 is asking us, let me lower the paper. Number 9 is asking us, so we have the equation 2x plus y equals 1. It wants us to graph the equation and then identify the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. So we are gonna graph it, and then we need to find the slope, and then we need to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. X and y intercepts. Okay, so to graph this line, you know, what I can do is just simply find, remember we talked about this, I can find the x and the y intercepts, and then from there I can obtain 2 points, plot them, and then I have the graph, right? Now to find the slope, I need to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the x and the y intercepts first, because I can solve it differently, but I'm going to be consistent with what we have been doing already. So we're going to go ahead and find the x-intercept first. And remember that this is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. The way to find it is you're going to let the y be equal to 0 and then just solve for the x. So you have 2x plus y equals 1. Let the y be equal to 0 and solve for the x value. So this is 2x equals 1. You're going to divide by 2, right? And x is equal to 1/2. So the y-intercept is 1/2 comma 0. Now, that's the the x-intercept. The x-intercept is 1/2 comma 0. That's the x-intercept. Now the y-intercept, remember we're gonna let the x be equal to 0 and find the y. So we have 2x plus y equals 1. And I'm gonna need to erase the paper a little bit. So 2 times 0 plus y equals 1. That gives me y equals 1, right? Because 2 times 0 is just 0. And so we would get 0 plus y, which is just y is equal to 1. So then you get the point 0 comma 1 for the y-intercept. From here, we can graph this line, right? So let me kind of make the graph a little bit nicer here so you can see. Remember, this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. So the point 1/2 comma 0 is going to be, well, this is the point 1 comma 0. So then in the middle, right? So you're going to have a point like right there, and then 0 comma 1 up here, right? So we connect these 2 points. Remember that when you connect them, you can extend the line segment, and that gives you the graph of the line. Okay, so you have the points 1/2, comma 0, and then 0, comma 1, right? So right here, these 2 points, you could have found many other points. What's another way you can find points for this line? Just find a value. In order to find more points, let me just show you how else you can find more points. You could have, so you have this equation, right? 2x plus y equals 1. And say you want to find other points, not just the x-intercept or the y-intercept. So here's your x and then your y. Then you have 2x plus y equals 1, right? That's the equation. And so you would, if you want to find the y value for it, well, actually, you know, let's do it a little bit differently here. Let me do it differently, because I think that it'll make a lot more sense if I do it this way. So let's do it this way. So we have 2x plus y equals 1, right? And so we create a table, and you know, if x is, and then we want to find y. So if x is 0, what is y? Well, if x is 0, you plug in 0, so 2 times 0 plus y equals 1. This gives me 2 times 0, that's just 0 plus y, right? We did this already. So this is going to give me y equals 1. So we know that because we already found that one. Okay, but what if x is, say, 2? Okay, well, if x is 2, let me raise the paper a little bit. So 2x plus y equals 1, right? 2 times 2 plus y equals 1. That's going to be 4 plus y equals 1. You want to solve for y, so you want to subtract 4 from both sides. And that's going to give you y equals 1 minus 4, and that's going to be negative 3. So if x is 2, y equals negative 3. And so now you have these 2 points, 0, 1, 2, negative 3. So you can plot those points. Let me lower it. So now you have these points, 0, 1, 2. The points you have now, 0, comma 1, 2, comma negative 3. So you can use these points to graph the line now. So let me show you everything here, because I know that sometimes when I'm writing, I need to keep an eye on the camera here. So there it is. I'm going to leave it there for a while so you can see everything. So again, there are different ways to find points. So you already know how to graph it. Now you need to identify, so we found the x and the y intercepts, right? Remember, those were 0, comma 1 and 1/2, comma 0. Now we've graphed the line as well, and now you just have to find the slope. So to find the slope, let me get this paper out of the way and get a clean sheet of paper. To find the slope, you have the equation 2x plus y equals 1, right? And you lower it. Now, to find the slope, we need to write the equation. We must write it in slope-intercept form. And this form looks like this: y equals mx plus b. In other words, you just need to solve for y. So I'm going to solve for y here. So I'm going to do minus 2x on both sides, so I can isolate the y. And so this gives me, this gets rid of the 2x, bring down the y, is equal to negative 2x plus 1. Now this is in slope-intercept form. The slope here, so the slope is equal to m, right? This m, whatever m is the number next to x. So m here in our example is negative 2. So then the slope is equal to negative 2. Okay? That's how you find the slope. All right. So let's see. I want to do one example that I saw, an example in the homework. Let me show you what I saw, something like this. Find the slope and the y-intercept. So it's asking for, this is from the homework, find the slope and the y-intercept of, and then it gives us of y equals negative 2. Okay, Well, we know that if I graph this line, it's going to be a horizontal line, right? Y, X. It'll be a horizontal line at -2, right? So let's say this is the line at -2. This is y equals -2. So y equals -2 is going to be a horizontal line like that. Y equals -2. So to find the y-intercept, that's easy to see because that's going to be this point right here where the graph is going to cross the y-axis. So the y-intercept, we can see that the y-intercept, I'm going to write it here, y-intercept is the point 0, -2. No problem there. So how do I find the slope? Well, you can see that the slope of a horizontal line, there is no rise, right? There's run, but there's no rise. So if the rise is equal to 0, whatever number is in the denominator, except 0, of course, the slope will be equal to 0 here. But let's say that we wanted to prove that. So you need to find 2 points. Let's find 2 points on this line. We already have one, 0, -2. I'm going to select another one, say 2, this one right here. That's going to be 2, -2, right? And so remember, this one is 0, -2, and this one is 2, -2. So you have those 2 points. Now let's find the slope. So the points are 0, -2 and 2, -2. So to find the slope, remember that we do, so I'm going to let this one be x1, y1, right? And I'm going to let this one be x2, y2. Okay. And so the slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is -2 minus y1 minus -2 divided by x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is 0. So we have -2 minus minus, so that's -2 plus 2, right? Divided by 2. So you get -2 plus 2 is equal to 0 divided by 2. Notice that it's okay. Now, we saw previously that if 0 were in the denominator, this would be undefined. But this is not the case here because 0 is in the numerator. So this is just going to be 0 divided by 2, which equals 0. That means that the slope is equal to 0. And that's always the case when you're dealing with horizontal lines. Y equals any number. Okay? Y equals any number is going to give you a slope equal to 0. Okay. So I wanted to do that. I want to consider that example because I saw one in the homework similar. And the last one I want to go over is example 14 in your workbooks. So example 14, it's asking for the slope. We want to find the slope. We want to find the intercepts, x and y intercepts, and then we want to graph. Oh, this one we want to write the equation of the line. So in the intercepts, the x and the y, okay, both. And the slope, and write the equation of the line. So we're going to go step by step, and then the graph is given. So let me show you the graph. This is the graph that we have. So I need 2 points on this line. So I'm not going to graph it. I'm going to show you here on the screen. I'm going to get 2 points, and the points I'm going to get here are going to be -2, 0, this point right here, the x-intercept, and then the y-intercept, 0, 4. So I need to find the x-intercepts, but you know what? I can read them from the graph. Remember, these are the points, the x and the y-intercept, these are the points that intersect the x and the y-axis. So the x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. That's going to be -2, 0. And the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. That's going to be 0, 4. So I don't have to solve for them this time because I don't have the equation. You know, we are looking for the equation. So this problem is different. This problem is giving us a graph From the graph, we can read the x and the y intercepts, and then we're gonna need to come up with the equation. So we're looking for the equation. We're gonna need to find it. I'm gonna show you how to do that. And once I have the equation, then I can identify the slope. Okay, so first of all, let me go ahead and write the x-intercept. We said that this one, the x-intercept, is the point -2, 0. And then the y-intercept, this is the point 0, 4. Right? I can find the slope now because I have 2 points. So I don't have to have the equation to find the slope, right? So the slope, I'm going to write slope y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Let's go ahead and call this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2. There's very little room here for me to write, so that's what I will use. So y2, remember, this is x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 will be 4, right? Minus, this is your y2, minus your y1, which is 0, divided by x2, 0, minus x1, -2. So that's going to be 4 divided by, minus is 2, so 4 divided by 2, notice that that's going to give me 2 for the slope, right? So just double checking here, 4 minus 0 equals 4, right? 0 minus 2 is 0 plus 2 actually, which is just 2. 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So that's the slope. So we found the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the slope. What do we have now left? Because we did the slope and we did both of the intercepts. We just need to come up with the equation. Well, there's a formula that I'm going to give you, and this is the formula you want to use whenever you are looking for an equation, right, of a line. And so that is the slope, intercept, the point slope formula. The point slope. I was thinking, what is the name? The point slope formula. So here's the point slope formula. This is one way you can find the equation. There's another way I'm going to show you, but this is one way that always works. The other way that I'm going to show you works if you have the y-intercept, which we do. So, but the point slope formula works even if you do not have the y-intercept, even if you just have 2 points on the line, or even if you have the slope and 1 point. That's what's called point slope, because you really require a point and a slope. Okay, so this one, you can use this formula. Again, why are we using this formula? Because we need to come up with the equation of the line. We do not know what the equation of the line. We're looking for that. So this formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you're going to use this formula using the points that we use for x1, y1. Remember, we use -2, 0. So go ahead and plug that in. So y minus y1, remember that y1 is 0, right, is equal to m, your slope is 2, x minus x1 is -2. Be careful with the double negatives here. The minus comes from the formula, so it's minus, right? So this is going to give me y equals, I'm going to erase the paper a little bit, 2 times x, minus is plus 2. So then this is going to give me y equals, apply the distributive property, 2 times x equals 2x, 2 times 2 equals 4. And so you have the equation of the line. This is the equation of the line. And notice that the slope the slope 2 matches exactly what we found previously when we found the slope. Okay. Now what's another way you can find this formula, this equation? The one way I showed you is using the point slope formula. You need to know this formula. And remember, you are allowed to use your notes when you take the test. So I do allow you to use your notes. You can use your notes while taking the test. So this is one formula that you perhaps want to have somewhere, right? and write down when do you need it. This is when you're looking for the equation of a line. And what do I need? You need to know the slope, and you need to know 1 point. That is why it's called the point slope formula, because it requires 1 point and the slope of the line. Now, in order to find the slope requires us to have 2 points, right? Because we need 2 points on the line to be able to calculate the slope, as we did here previously. Okay, another way you can find this equation is because you know the y-intercept. Remember, an equation written in slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, right? And notice that we know m is 2, that's the slope, and you know the y-intercept. The y-intercept, we calculated that is 0, 4. We didn't calculate, we read it from the graph, right? So that was the y-intercept. So here, if you write the equation, this is in slope-intercept form. M, you already know m, so it's 2x plus this b is the y value, is a y element in the y-intercept. So this comes from the y value in the y-intercept. So if you know the y-intercept and you know the slope, you can simply plug it into this formula, right? And you have the same equation that we found, right? But you need to have these two. You need to know the slope and you need to know the y-intercept. So if you have the slope and the y-intercept, I recommend you use this method because it's much easier. You just plug it into the slope-intercept formula, right? But if you do not have the y-intercept, if you only have 2 points and you don't have the y-intercept, then you need to use the point-slope formula, okay? So that's why you need it. Okay, now, so we needed to find the slope, the y-intercept, and write the equation of a line. So I think we completed the task. And this is it for section 3.4. Please do not fall behind on your homework assignments in MyLabs Plus, and make sure you're using Chrome when accessing MyLabs Plus. And Canvas, it works better if you do that. And I will then continue making these videos, and that would be it for today. This is 3.4, so 3.3 and 3.4. We completed sections 3.3 and 3.4. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.